The salads had just been eaten at the White House Correspondents Dinner when gunshots rang out, thousands hit the floor, hordes of security moved in, and CNN's Wolf Blitzer, who had just taken a restroom break, was there, an eyewitness to it all.
It was scary. I was a few feet away from the gunman as he was firing. It was loud. It was scary. The cops got on top of him, and then they got on top of me to protect me. And then they took me away into a secure room, the men's room. It was just a frightening experience.
Within the hour, the media was present, black tie and gowns, for a White House press conference.
A man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly.
Dan, I'm going to start with you because you don't usually watch the White House Correspondents' Dinner, but I understand your wife said, "Hey, Dan, you might want to tune in now and see what's going on." So, what was your first impression?
Well, I mean, I'm smiling, but this was not a good event. It's certainly nothing to smile about. I tuned in CNN, and I know Scott's going to talk about Wolf Blitzer too, but the very first thing I heard was Wolf Blitzer calling in and telling what had happened from his perspective. And we have since learned that as horrendous an event as this could have been, the security, in fact, was not breached. It held pretty well. And Wolf Blitzer was the first person that we learned from that the shooter didn't even get to the same floor that the event was being held at. So obviously they're going to have to rethink all of their security protocols just to make sure that everything is nailed down as well as possible. But they seem to work pretty well in this case. And
Yeah.
just to see the reporters running around and then the news conference later, it was really quite an evening. And of course, it could have been quite a tragic evening.
Yeah, my
And we're
nephew
all
was there.
glad that it wasn't. Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
he's the Pentagon producer for ABC News, and so he stood up, and I actually have some video. Maybe Tony will roll it in of, and just started videoing. I mean, because I don't think he felt really fearful. I mean, he said one of the scariest things was the fact that these security people, and some of them dressed in, full military regalia, were like throwing people to the ground, dragging people out. One woman in a sequin dress gets dragged out into I mean, they were trying to protect people, but, and at the same time, almost virtually everybody in that room knew it was a big story and started calling in or doing whatever they had to do. But as you know, Scott, this has also prompted a whole slew of crazy conspiracy theories. There are many, many people. I talked to a couple of people in an event this week who don't believe a word of it.
Sure. I mean, it happened after the Butler assassination attempt, and it really is par for the course now. And you do get these conspiracy theories just taking off immediately. There's also a debate over the security, and to Dan's point, a lot of things did work, but Trump is using it to push his new ballroom. It just doesn't quite make sense, but idea being that it'll be more secure, but would you even have an event like that there? I don't know. But it is taking on a kind of a partisan tinge to it, where the Fox News Republicans are saying it wasn't secure enough. This is why we need the ballroom. Wall Street Journal had a pretty good article, and I trust they're reporting more. I mean, it's a legitimate issue to look at the security, but if it gets all wrapped up into Trump's ballroom argument, I mean, what do you believe at some point? I mean,
Mm.
I'm not a security expert. The journal said you could just have a paper ticket and you can get through the first line. That seemed a little goosey, but who knows? I mean, it's hard to, I mean, it's hard to plan for everything, right? So,
So, Lila, you've been to this event before. You weren't
Mhm.
there this time, but the Globe obviously had a whole team of people there, including your media reporter, Aidan Ryan, who wrote a great recap piece on that. But just walk us through what's it like being there, and can you imagine yourself being in that situation where all of a sudden you're at a party, you've probably had a drink or two, and suddenly, because there was a pre-party, as you all probably know.
There are many pre-parties.
Oh, I know. And then all of a sudden there you are, and it's a huge news story.
It is. So it's been 10 years since I was last there. So take that for what it is. But you do show a paper ticket to get down the first set of escalators. And those things are really would be tough to forge. I mean, the last one I had holograms and stuff on it, but it is a hotel. People are staying at the hotel. There are other things going on at the hotel. So you can walk into the hotel and you can grab a drink at the hotel bar or the cafe in the lobby. And there's no strange security there. Once you go down the first set of escalators, there's a second set of escalators. And last time I was there, that's where the metal detectors were. And then you had to go through those to get to the ballroom. And so I think what Dan said about security working the way it's supposed to, it did. It worked the way it was supposed to. The shooter tried to access the ballroom and did not. But the talk about this turning towards the need for a White House ballroom, I think it's important for people to remember that the White House correspondents do not work for the White House.
Right.
This is an event that would never be held at the White House because the organization that holds it is not part of the government. They're independent. It's about freedom of the press. And so they can create an absolute bunker at the White House, which is what they're trying to do. That's not where this dinner would likely be held. Trump does not control its location. I also think that with the conspiracy theories, I'm not surprised that they came to life and really took hold so quickly. Trump has really developed a bit of a boy who cried wolf problem. Um, Between the wider lens picture you're seeing out of Pennsylvania with the crane lowering a American flag into the shot and people ushering the journalists in to get the perfect camera angle, and the MAGA base now having a lot of skepticism around that. And then you've got the constant back and forth announcements about the Strait of Hormuz being closed. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, they've accepted our offer. Oh, no, we never gave it to them, and the market manipulation that goes along with it. I think people feel that this is just another incident of that, especially since, and this is probably the most important point, Trump immediately controlled the messaging. He immediately, before he was even ushered off the premises, was posting on his Truth Social that the show must go on.
Yeah.
So there's an immediate reference to reality TV and performance and optics. And then to host a press conference, it's a 37-minute walk from the venue to get to the White House after that. So to have people getting outside the shut down roads and into Ubers or hoofing it all the way there in their finery, that's also him controlling
Yep.
it. He didn't have to do it within half an hour. He could have made it a little bit easier for people to get to. But then the partisan talk and the talk about security and the talk about the need for a ballroom, all of that undermines the seriousness of the situation, which is that a lot of people were at risk, and luckily security worked as it was supposed to, and they are safe.
Good points.
Emily, can I make just
Yeah,
one other
please.
point? And that is about, print newspapers are dinosaurs.
Yeah.
We all know that. But the New York Times apparently has an 8 p.m. deadline for their Sunday edition. And the front page the next day had absolutely no mention of the shooting. And, I understand they're a national paper. They've got printing plants all over the country that they don't own. But the fact is, they do own their own printing plant in Queens. And apparently, it didn't even make it into any of the New York editions. Now, it was the lead story in the Boston Globe print edition, the Washington Post print edition. Uh, Even though print isn't that important anymore, I think they ought to be able to loosen up their print deadlines a little bit for something this important.
So true, Dan. I was shocked. I do get the Sunday New York Times. I don't get it every day. I subscribe. I get the hard copy. I was shocked that they didn't have it. And then I thought, oh well, it's just a suburban edition. And then I read your column and I thought, oh no, not just us. It was everybody. So I agree. Shocking. And it seems to me at this point they just don't care because they've got their digital version and they figure people will just tune there and that's it. But good point.